Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi guys, we are from Group 1. In this video, we will explain about deixis and distance. First is deixis. Definition: the word deixis is a technical term from Greek for one of the most basic things we do with utterance, which mean pointing via language. 1. Any linguistic form used to accomplish pointing is called deictic expression. 2. Deictic expressions are also known as indexical. Next is deictic expression. Deictic expressions are meaningful in a given context. They are among the first words acquired by children. In order interpreted correctly, the speaker and listener have to share the same context. They are particularly useful in face-to-face communication. Next is types of deixis. First is person deixis. Any expression used to point to a person. Me, you, him, and them are examples of person deixis. The second is place or space deixis. Words to point to a location. Here and there are examples of place or space deixis. Next is time or temporal deixis. Expression used to point to a time. Now, then, tonight, last week, or yesterday are examples of time or temporal deixis. Next is discourse deixis. An expression used to refer to earlier or forthcoming segments of the discourse in the previous or next paragraph. Or, have you heard this joke? Next is social deixis. Honorifics, prompts to show respect, such as Professor Lee.
Now I will explain about person deixis. A speech event includes at least two persons. The first person as speaker and the second person as addresses. If the two persons do not only refer to themselves while talking, there is a third person, the person they are talking about, that does not have to take part in the conversation. Usually, the third person is not grammatically marked because the only two persons of importance are the first person. The speaker is the most important, and the second person, the addresser, less important. The suffix for the third person. The traditional category of plural is not symmetrically applied to first person, or we, in the way it is to the third, or they. In addition, there are two first person plural pronouns corresponding to we inclusive of addressee and we exclusive of addressee. For example, let's go to the cinema. We inclusive of addressee. The second one, let's go to see you tomorrow. We exclusive of addressee. Person deixis. The pronouns grammatical category for a person. Personal pronouns. All language have personal pronouns, or at least words, that refer to the participant of the speech act. The pronouns of the first I, my, mine, and second person you, your, and yours are deictic. It refers to the speaking person. It is also possible to have deictic pronouns for the third person. Definite and specific pronouns: this, that, those, and these. Indefinite and specific pronouns: somebody, something, who, and what. Indefinite and non-specific pronouns someone, something, nobody, and nothing. Concerns the location relative to encourage points in the speech event. Two basic ways of referring to objects: by describing or naming them and by locating them. Location can be specified relative to the other object. For example, this station is 200 yards from the college. Location can be specified relative to the location or participant. For example, it's 200 yards away. Some pure place they take word here and there, this and that. Symbolic usage of here, pragmatically given unit of space that includes the location of the speaker. For example, I am writing to say I am having a marvelous time here. The adverb here and there mean contrast on a proximal or distal dimension, and here mean proximal or near. There mean distal or more distant. Bring that here and take this there. Demonstrative pronouns are more clearly organized in a proximal or distal dimension. Word place deixis. Word this. The object in a pragmatically given area close to the speaker location. Word that. The object beyond the pragmatically given area close to the speaker location. Some languages have demonstrative with 3 and 4 way distinction on the proximal distal dimension. Northwest American language think it demonstrative distinguish between this one right here, this one nearby, that one over there, that one way over there. Direction: to the left from, to the right from.
Okay, now I'm gonna explain about the previous material. Place deixis. Motion verbs is sign of place deixis. Come versus go makes distinction between the direction of motion. For example, he is coming. It means he is moving towards the speaker's location. He is going. It means he is moving away from the speaker's location. I'm coming. It means the speaker is moving towards the location of the address. Come, it means movement towards either the location of the speaker or towards the location of the address. Next is tenses. Tenses is time relation in connection to a given point in time. There is 3 tenses. Next is tenses. Tenses is time relation in connection to a given point in time. There are 3 tenses. Present is an event or action simultaneously to the speech act. Past is an event or action before the speech act. Future is an event or action after the speech act. There are language systems with more than 3 possibilities. They distinguish between level of past dependent on their distance from the speaker's utterance. Tense of immediate past, for example, John has just been able to solve the problem. Difference between absolute tense. Absolute tense refers immediately to time of the speaker's utterance. Simple past and simple present. Relative tenses refer to other tenses. Past perfect. Event refers to another event that happens afterwards. Tenseless eternal sentence is 2 and 2 is 4. languages without true tenses, like Chinese. Time Deixis is relevant to various other deictic elements in language. For example, greetings, like good morning, can only be used in the morning. Expression, for example, the former president and my ex-husband. Deictic center is the time of the utterance's time, the place of the utterance's place, and the person just giving the utterance. Near speakers using proximal like this, here, or now. Away from speaker using distal like that, there, and then.
Okay, for the next material, it's discourse deixis, also called text deixis, concern the use of expression referring to a part of the discourse. While within time deixis, for example, in the temporal reference is next week, last week, and for the spatial reference, for example, is in the next chapter, in the last paragraph. In discourse deixis, there are many words and phrases in English that indicate the relationship between utterance and the pure discourse. And for the utterance initials, such as but, therefore, in conclusion, to the contrary, still, however, anyway, well, besides, actually, all in all, so after all these words make reference to a statement, sentence, etc. that was said before. Some languages have morphemes that mark such as discourse notions. And for the next material is social deixis. Social deixis concern those aspects of language structure that encode the social identities of participants or the social relationship between them. But these usages are only relevant to the topic of social deixis insofar as they are grammaticalized. For example, polite pronouns, vows, which mean address titles, and social relations concern, in all those examples, the relation between the speaker and the addressee, especially the countries in East Asia are known for having several levels of politeness based on the social difference between the persons concerned. Using deixis, certain words like here, there, this, that, now, then, as well as most pronouns such as I, you, him, her, them, can only be understood if we know about the context in which they are used. For example, the sentence, you will have to bring that back tomorrow because they aren't here, out of context will be quite unintelligible because this sentence contains a large number of certain expressions, or we can call it deixis, which depend for their interpretation on the immediate physical context in which they are uttered. All these expressions have to be interpreted in terms of what person, place, or time the speaker has in mind. There is a broad distinction between what is marked as a distant or that, there, then. It is also possible to mark whether the movement is happening towards the speaker's locations or come, or away from speaker's location, go. For example, if you are looking for someone and he or she appears moving towards you, you tend to say, here she comes. If, however, she or he is moving away from you in the distance, you are more like to say, there she goes. Well, that's all the material from me. And for the next material, my partner will do deliver to all of us.
Next explanation is people can actually use Deixis to have fun. Like the coffee shop owner who puts up a big sign that reads, like a free snacks tomorrow, to get you to return to his shop. That can always claim that you are the one day too early for the meal. Next is Deixis and grammar. Grammar, the study of the rules governing the use of a given natural language, and as such is a field of linguistics. Traditionally, grammar included morphology and syntax. In modern linguistics, these subfields are complemented by phonology, semantics, and pragmatics. Next explanation is pragmatics. Pragmatics: how do people use sentences in communication, characterize acceptable or unacceptable use. It is no longer possible to consider sentences in isolation, like we need to take the context into account. We look beyond through conditional meanings. Next is Deixis. Deixis, those words in a language that's entirely dependent on context. The meaning of Deixis is pointing to something. In verbal communication, however, Deixis, in its narrow sense, refers to the contextual meaning of pronouns, and in its broad sense, what the speaker means by a particular utterance in a given speech context. Next is Deixis and grammar. The basic decision for person, spatial, and temporal Deixis can be seen in English grammar are presented in direct and indirect speech. Deixis and grammar. The basic decision for person, spatial, and temporal Deixis can be seen in English grammar are presented in direct and indirect speech. For example is, are you planning to be here this evening? That's a direct speech. Example 2. I asked her if she was planning to be there that evening. That's an indirect speech. When reporting a previous utterance, the utterance is marked dictionally as relative to original circumstances. The proximal forms will be shifted to the corresponding distal forms. The proximal deictic forms of a direct speech give the sense of being in the same context as the utterance. The distal deictic forms of an indirect speech give the sense of being remote as the original speech event. The residual difference in English reported discourse marks a distinction between the near speaker, meaning of the direct speech, and the away from speaker, meaning of the indirect speech. And that's it from group 1. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.